welcome to your favorite channel, What the Bible Says with Ngozi Atiti. My name is Ngozi Atiti, and this week we have another interesting topic we're going to discuss together. And the topic is the power in the tongue. You want to know how much power we have in our tongue. And we'll also look at the negative ways we use our tongue and the positive ways. And of course, what the Bible says about using our tongue. Please stay with us. You're going to learn a lot today, and there are so many interesting things we want to share. So stick around, and at the end of the day, you have to put your comments and ask your questions. Today we say we're going to look at the power in the tongue. And before we start, let's define what the tongue is. The tongue is a fleshy muscular part in the body. The tongue is used for licking, is used for communicating, is used for articulating speech, and it is also used for swallowing or tasting. So talking about articulating speech in humans, we articulate speech for communication, and communication is intended for several objectives. So we're going to look at those objectives of communication. What are these objectives of communication? Communication is intended to inform, to persuade, to reveal intentions, to enroll, to acknowledge, to stimulate a response, to teach and train, to shift attitude. In the course of achieving these objectives in communication, we could use our tongue negatively and we could use our tongue positively. Sometimes we did not intend to use our tongue negatively, but it comes out negative in the ears of our listeners. And sometimes unconsciously, we also use our tongue positively. But we're going to see and learn how we use our tongue negatively and how not to, and how we use our tongue positively. And at the same time, while we're running through this, we'll see what the Bible says. So what are those positive ways we use our tongue? Number one is we speak to edify. We build people up while we talk. Let's see what the Bible says about that. In Proverbs 15 verse 1 says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." The second one is speak timely. Know when and how to speak to achieve the desired result. Let's see what the Bible says about that. Psalm 141 verse 3 says, "Set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips." And Proverbs chapter 13 verse 3 says, "Those who guide their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin." That means even speaking rashly can lead one to destruction. 3 verse 7 says, "A time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak." That means it's not all the time our flesh wants us to speak that we're supposed to speak. We also control our urge to speak. Speak timely and speak correctly. Now the third point says, speak to provide grace. Our words can either empower people to continue, empower people to remain, or empower people to forge ahead. Our words can also bring ruin to people's lives. It can bring down somebody. It can give somebody every reason to quit. So let's speak to provide grace to those lives. Let's see what the Bible says concerning that. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 29 says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." The next positive way we can use our tongue is to speak the truth. It is unacceptable to speak lies against our neighbor or against anybody just because of hate, jealousy, or to have an undue financial advantage over them. We have to say the truth because we definitely give account of every vain word that we have spoken. Let's hear what the Bible says about it. In Matthew chapter 12 from verse 36 to 37, the Bible says, "But I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken." 37 says, "For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned." The Bible talks about speaking the truth. is in Ephesians 4:25. It says, therefore each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. Next one, now speak gently. We have to speak gently with our tongue so that our listener will not misunderstand our voice tone or the volume of our voice, because even the tone of our voice and body language is also forms of communication. So when talking, even a child, adult, anybody, we have to keep a very comfortable voice tone. Let's see what the Bible says about it. Speaking gently. The Bible says in Proverbs 15 verse 4, the soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit. About speaking gently, the Bible says in Proverbs 17:27, the one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and whoever has understanding is even-tempered. Let's look at some of the negative ways we can use our tongue. And these negative ways is a no-no, and that is what this channel is preaching. We shouldn't use these ways because they hurt, they cause a lot of emotional damage, they cause a lot of psychological effect in the ears of our listeners. So these negative ways is a no-no. But for us to recognize them and avoid them in the future, we are outlining them here for our own knowledge. So the first one is gossiping or slandering. Gossiping and slandering is speaking ill of someone who is not present and trying to run down someone's image in the presence of other people. Let's hear what the Bible says about this. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 28, it says, a perverse person stirs up conflict, and the gossip separates close friends. Let's look at what the Bible says about gossiping and slandering also. It says in Psalm 101 verse 5, whoever slanders their neighbor in secret, I will put to silence. That basically means that a gossip or a slanderer is liable to death. The second negative way of using the tongue is judging. Now, judging can be seen from both sides. If this is done professionally in order to build or increase the person on a particular task or on a particular project such a person is working on, then it is different. Judging by yelling degrading marks in order to downplay somebody's accomplishment, in order to reduce the person's personality or the person's ego, or to brush one's ego, is a very negative way of using the tongue. Let's see what the Bible says about judging. In Matthew 7 verse 1 to 2, the Bible says, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you'll be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Another negative way of using the tongue is cruel names and labels. This is ridiculing, insulting, or name-calling to lessen the self-worth and dignity of another person. This is absolutely wrong. It hurts one emotionally. It causes a lot of psychological problem. It causes a lot of heartbreaks. It causes a whole lot of low self-esteem. Let's hear what the Bible says about it. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 15 verse 3, it says, the tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. That is, gushes foolish things. Another negative way of using the tongue is pessimism. Pessimism means being overly negative about everything, seeing the negative side of life. This reduces hope. This, causes a whole lot of discouragement. And another negative way is complaining, lack of being grateful, expressing dissatisfaction, annoyance about a state of affairs or an event. Another negative way is excuses, blame throwers, not taking responsibility of actions. Let's take ownership of our actions. In this way, we can change for the better. Another negative way of using the tongue is deceit, exaggerating, lying. Let's see what the Bible says in 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. It says, for whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Ephesians 5:4 says, "Nor should there be obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving." Still on negative ways of using the tongue, we have uncompromising dogmatism. This can lead to confusion of facts with opinions. Dogmatism is when somebody sticks to his or her own self-opinion rather than the facts. This is very, very negative. We should seek on, finding out the truth, the fact, before we go ahead to speak or to make conclusions on certain issues. Still on negative ways of using the tongue, verbal bullying. This is a global problem. Statistics have it that 42% of youths have been verbally bullied in one way or the other. Now, we know what bullying has been causing in the life of our youth. Some of our youths commit suicide because somebody has used his or her tongue negatively to downplay someone's achievements, or to ridicule or to mock somebody. And some of this verbal bullying go to the extent of making some of these youths commit suicide, and then keeping the families of this loved ones, keeping them hurt for a very long time. So our tongue is very, very powerful. The Bible says life and death lies in the power of the tongue. So basically, using our tongue negatively is bringing out the death power in our tongue. So we have to desist from there. So using words in a negative way, such as insults, teasing, put downs, in order to gain power over someone else's life, it is absolutely a no-no, is unacceptable. It leads to low self-esteem, as well as depression and other emotional and psychological problems. In Matthew chapter 5 verse 22, the Bible talks about using the word raka. He says that if you call your brother stupid or foolish, you have committed murder. So anyone that bullies anyone verbally to kill the spirit or the soul of such a man, you have committed murder. Even when you did not physically use any hard weapon, but your mouth or your words that are used negatively is a weapon that has killed the soul to live in. Thank you for sticking around with us, and I hope you learned a lot from today's topic. And let's stop the verbal bullying. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you so much, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. If it blesses you, please share, subscribe to our channel for more video updates. Put your comments, like us, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow us in Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Just follow us for more video updates. Thank you, and God bless you. Shalom.